basics. I'm now really entering areas where I've just got to ask for directions. There's no clear route, there's nothing on the maps I found, but it's not a huge, well, it's about 100 kilometers stretch, and this is the kind of thing that I'm trying to get through at the moment. There is a path on this side, it's a bit clearer. It's pretty overgrown, a few snakes about. I'm kind of using my poles to kind of make as much noise as I can on the ground, and then passing the snakes, just get off the path. They're obviously scared of me. It's going to be pretty slow going from here, I think, for the next couple of days. But I just got to get through this bit. I know this is the bit, this is the wildest kind of bit that I should get on the whole trip. Another little update on the terrain. This is what I'm crossing now. It's just boulders all over the place. There was a path. In some places it was wide-ish, in some places it was overgrown, and then it just became these boulders. Every now and again there's a sandy patch and I can see footprints, and that's all I'm going on at the moment. I'm just trying to find the next footprint. The guy who I asked directions of for this bit, he said if you find the right path, then it's not too bad. But if not, then it's going to take it's going to take the whole day to cover, I think 5 or 8 kilometers. So I don't know if I found the right path or not, but I'm seeing footprints every now and again. So I think hopefully it's just this little short section that's all bouldery like this, and then it'll clear up again. The situation is, I'm on this river. It sounds like I need to cross it. The last directions I got given was just go along the river in this direction, on this side, for something like 8 kilometers, and everything will be okay. That's what, I don't know whether that means there's a bridge or what, but I walked along the river, I got to a small little farm, and someone clearly said that's as far as the path goes. I mean, the path did go on, but I explained to him that I need to cross the river. He understood that I need to cross the river, and he said I need to go back the way I came. So at the moment I'm kind of just sat here thinking about what to do. It's quite a big river, it's unrealistic to cross it on my own. Even in a group I wouldn't cross this, but I don't know whether I can either risk it and just carry on down that path and hope there's a bit of a misunderstanding, or go back and ask a load more people. I'm having a little bit of think. Section on the river I'm finding incredibly frustrating. It's just big boulders. It's the only part, well, it is certainly the largest part of my entire route that I wasn't too sure about, because I planned the route on a few different maps, and where they all aligned, where they all said there's a route through, that's where I plotted my route as kind of like a fail-safe. Whereas the bit around here, there wasn't really a good way through, but one of the maps did say that there's a small path here, so that's kind of what I used. But I've asked for directions along the way. Everyone seems to say give me different directions when I ask. I don't know whether that's just a language barrier type thing, or everyone's got their own way of getting through. But yeah, a few kind of there've been a few instances of someone says, yeah, definitely go that way. I go that way, and there's just nothing, completely nothing, you know, like a cliff or something. I'm sure it's my fault, and it's the language thing. I'm sure if I was a local, then I would understand and it'd be fine. So I was going along the river, and it's just boulders, huge boulders. Some rocks kind of like a foot wide, some boulders as tall as I am. So it was just climbing along the river, and I've got 25 kilometers of that. So it would have been 25 kilometers just literally like scrambling. That would have taken a long time. So I found this little path that goes up the river. Again, it's kind of going slightly away even from where I need to go, but it's a path, and hopefully I can cover a bit more distance. If not, I'll have to turn back, and I'd probably lose a day or two if I turn back and then find the right way, but it's all part of the fun. So I was carrying on through the jungle, up and down, up and down. Some of it was quite thick and heavy. Then I suddenly realized that there's a bit where I passed underneath a log, and then maybe 20 minutes later there's a bit that I passed underneath a log again, and I kind of passed under it, looked back, yep, it looked exactly the same. So I did a circle. GPS not working in the jungle at all, it's just jumping around too much. There's too much foliage around for it to be accurate. So it just looked like a cloud of trail markers. And anyway, eventually I found the way. I was listening to the sound of the river to kind of guide me. I realised that sound was not the river that I thought it was, but it was something else, which I'll show you in a minute. But I made my way to the water. This is a little feeder stream into the river I was following, so I can follow this down. It's open here, I've got GPS, I know where I am again. I can follow down to the river. It's still going to be incredibly slow. It's just going to be those boulders and rocks again, but it is what it is. But I stumbled across this. A while ago I was kind of moaning to myself and to the video about the terrain on the river. So then I went up the path, found the waterfall. The bit coming down from the waterfall, that bit I did have good reason to moan about. That was crazy. That was just climbing down. I thought I would have to use a bit of rope at times. I'm kind of glad to be back to the river. My plan now is just to stick to the river. It doesn't matter how tough it is. I really don't see there being too many stretches like this during the entire trip. I always knew that this bit was a bit of an unknown, and it could have gone either way. It could have been easier than I thought. It could have been more difficult. It's proved to be the latter. But it is what it is. I'm at the river. As long as I can make it through all the canyons here, that's my only concern. I'm kind of the mind now, it doesn't matter how long it takes. At least I know where I'm going. And I think it took me 2 hours to do 2 kilometers along the river, probably maybe even more. And I know it is 6 kilometers to a bridge, and bridge means civilization at least, so there might be paths before that. So that's the goal. I probably have to camp on or near the river, so I've just sent off for a weather forecast via satellite, just to make sure there's not going to be any torrential rain in the night. But even if the forecast says no, I'm kind of going to assume that there could be, and camp a little bit higher up if I find a spot. Some footprints. It's weird how little things in a situation like this can make me really happy, but I can see footprints. The first sign of human activity for about 3 or 4 hours. Any sign at all. I feel like a right little explorer here. So yeah, I'm gonna follow the footprints and see where they lead me. More scrambling. I've just carried on along the river. It was getting quite dangerous, to be honest. I was reluctant to carry on, and then I got to a point where I couldn't carry on at all. It was just a huge boulder kind of sticking away from the bank of the river, sticking out into the river. So there were a few options basically. To climb up to the jungle, and that's unrealistic because it's just way too steep. It just goes up at almost 90 degrees. To go into the river, I checked the depth, and the river's flowing quite fast, and I would be up over my waist, which I'm not prepared to take the risk on. Or climb down the boulder, and the boulder is just smooth rock all the way down, all the way around. So it was just a dead end. There was just no. So I had to kind of come to the realization in my own head that I've got to turn back. I can't cross the river. I can't carry on along this bank. I'm going to have to turn back, and it's going to take me well, I'm going to have to camp on the river, and then it might take me all day next day just to get back to where I started from on this river, and then just basically find another route, go back. The current plan is just to go all the way back to the last village where I stayed in last night, and ask around again. Maybe ask the same guy that told me to go this way, because I'm sure we had a language misunderstanding barrier. Times like this, when it's tough mentally, and it's towards the end of the day. I've been going for 8 hours now, and I've still got quite a way to go before a settlement, which is where I want to camp, because I don't want to just camp in the middle of nowhere, although I am up from the river. I'm just in the middle of this strange kind of, there is a road here which just stops eventually. It's difficult to know what's a road and what's rockfall, because this could have just all eroded away. These kinds of times, this is when other stuff can go wrong, and one thing can lead to another. Before you know it, could be a dangerous situation. So, for example, I could have lost concentration, could have dropped my GPS device. I could have realised right now that it's miles back again. Just need to stay focused. Take a moment. For me, I find it really helps to just stop. Even if you're in a rush, you can always just stop for like 15 seconds, just to compose yourself, take a breath, do a quick check, make sure everything's where it's supposed to be. Just go through the plan, a few seconds to go through it. I hope I haven't just said that and actually just forgotten something, or dropped my passport or something. Hopefully not. Anyway, so what time is it? It's 5 o'clock now. The sun's going to go down here at 6 o'clock or 6:20. I need to make it close-ish to a settlement, which I think I can just about do. I think it'll be kind of twilight when I get there, which is fine. Subject of things spiralling and getting worse and worse, and before you know it, being in a really dangerous situation. If I'm honest with myself, a little bit of that happened towards where I turned round, because after, was it 6 hours into the day, maybe 15 kilometers in, it is difficult to just admit to yourself that this is the wrong way and you need to turn around, and you've lost all those miles and you need to make up some miles the next day as well. And I probably, in fact I did. I took more risks than, thinking about it now, than I should have. It was fine, and I was still obviously as careful as possible. But in that moment, you just want to make it, because, for example, if I made it round that one boulder at the end, then that might have been fine. I might not have had to turn around. I could well have made it to the next point, but who knows? There could have been another boulder, or an even more dangerous one, which I could have tried and then fell. Who knows? It was only after I sat down and just calmed down, relaxed, that I made the decision to turn around. Stopped somewhere to stay, met some people, asked them if I can pitch my tent in their place. I showed them a video that the guy I met in the last village recorded. I asked him to just say a few words to the video so that I can show that video to some people, because he seemed to understand where I was going and the purpose of the journey. I showed the video to these people, and one of the guys said, that's my teacher, well, not my teacher, that's where my children go to school. So he said, the guy today that I showed the video to, he said, record a video of me, and because where you're going, they know me there. So I've got a feeling I can just keep recording people like that and showing them to others in the next villages, and there's a chance that people will just recognise each other. The same happened when I showed photos from a few villages back. He said, Mike, that's the teacher of my kid as well. So the people that I'm staying with at the moment know 2 people that I've met in the days before. What happened at this village that I stopped at, it's all guys here. I think some of them are related, some of them not, some of them are working on the farm. And when I was trying to explain what I was doing, I was showing photos of my leaving ceremony, and just explaining a little bit about Nepal Youth Foundation. And one of the guys I wasn't sure. I'm kind of a little bit unsure of the mood, the atmosphere. And then one of the guys just gave me 50 rupee as a gift because he really liked what I was doing. And it's just really unexpected.